Welcome to Money 911, where we believe that shift happens. I'm your host, Kris Miller, and today we're not just discussing health, wealth, and peace of mind, we're igniting a revolution in how you perceive your potential. Join me as we tap into the wisdom of Fortune 500 leaders and visionary entrepreneurs who have mastered the art of reinvention. Together, we'll explore the profound connections between personal well-being and financial success through our transformational 3D thinking process. Get ready to investigate your beliefs, innovate your strategies, and initiate powerful changes in your life. Let's dive deep, break barriers, and unleash the extraordinary within you. All right, here we go. Shift is happening. We've got James on the line here. Good to see you.
Thank you.
You know, you really think out of the box. I think shift happens is the best. You like to revolutionize everything. But just starting off with, working with Fortune 500 companies, what is like the most unexpected lesson about wealth management, people, the way they work, their marketing? What's your biggest takeaway for that?
Well, I think the takeaway has changed dramatically pre-COVID, post-COVID. So pre-COVID, you had a lot of experienced C-suite executives. They grew up. Maybe this was the only job they had right out of college, and they've been there 25, 30 years. So they understand the culture. They understand everything about it. COVID wiped most of those off the corporate culture. So now you have young people with college degrees and no experience. And they don't have the same investment in the success, but they recognize the penalty for failure. And so they don't want to take risks. And this country was built on risk-taking, plain and simple. When I was in the commodities trading pork bellies, there was a line that was, you can be wrong 7 times out of 10 and still make enough money from the 3 times you were right to offset the 7 times you were wrong. Most entrepreneurs never get to the 8th one. They have failure, and they give up. And the truth is that next step might have been that success that morphed everything else. So the best example I could give you corporately would be Apple under Steve Jobs, Apple under Scully, and Apple under Tim Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Jobs was a visionary.
Right.
Steve Jobs said, I'm going to come up with what the customer doesn't know they want, but when I show it to them, they're going to want it.
Right.
Scully came in under the corporate of Pepsi-Cola and said, no, we can't take those risks. We've got to worry about shareholder value. We've got to worry about this. We've got about that. And they became sort of a flatline organization.
Mm-hmm.
They started adding layers and layers of products. They put in printers. They put in monitors. They put in all kinds of things, none of which sold. Because it confused the culture. Then they brought Steve Jobs back for a little while, and he cleaned up a lot of it. Today, even, Apple has about 30 products, and they dominate the market in those 30 products. But what Tim Cook does is he builds to order and lets everybody else do the research and everybody else to refine it, and then he brings out the next iteration, but not necessarily the next best iteration. So the Apple products are always behind the technology curve of Samsung and LG and everybody else, but they've never built a culture. You talk to somebody that's using Apple, they use a lot of Apple products. They integrate seamlessly, etc. You talk to somebody that's an Android or PC user, and it's a Hewlett-Packard this and a Samsung that and an LG this, because there is no family of connectivity and no culture.
Right.
I think that's the biggest difference in what has happened to corporate America.
really well put. Yeah, totally. So, and you're innovative. I mean, beyond that, and problem solving, and so you talk about 3D thinking. Okay, I know that's a big topic, but it transformed, business challenges for you. Maybe like bite size that for people.
So I think I'm the guy that invented the concept and the word of 3D thinking. I never saw it when I came up with it.
Right.
And it came out of a particular situation where I had to think through an impossible situation. And I'll tell you that, and then I'll get to the 3D thinking. When I was in law school, we had study groups, and every week somebody else would host the study group at their house or apartment. And it was my turn, and I get a phone call from one of the fellows in the study group, and he says, I can't make it. I've got to adjust a railroad car. What? I have to adjust a railroad car. I mean, talk about stopping you dead in your tracks. I said, how do you adjust a rail? He says, what's your problem? I'm an insurance adjuster. Oh, okay. And we lost the railroad car.
Hmm.
How do you lose a railroad car? Well, Jim, when the cars are on the train and they go through various locations, let's say it was on the East Coast and it needed to get to Texas. It may go all the way to Chicago or to Kansas, get decoupled, pushed off to the side, and then when the train that's going from, let's call it, the top of the country to the bottom of the country, they would pick up that car and they would move it. Okay, so I'm going from east to Midwest, waiting for the next train that's going from, let's call it, north to south. He goes, correct. These switching yards are huge, and sometimes they would push them off and they'd lose them. I got to go with you. I got to go with you. This is just too cool. It's over 100 degrees. We spend an hour looking for this car because the way you found it at the time was there was a big serial number on the side of the car.
Oh, no.
We find it. It's got a padlock. Did you bring a bolt cutter? No. Did you get the key? No. Now we got to go all the way back to the central place, see if he's got a bolt cutter, which he has. Take it all the way back. We cut it up. It's number 10 restaurant size, institutional size cans of Chef Boyardee pasta sauce.
Whoopee.
How much is here? I don't know. How long has it been here? I don't know. Okay.
Thanks.
How big is this car? I don't know. So we go borrow a tape measure.
Jeez.
The car is 60 feet long. It's 20 feet high. And it's 4 feet, 8.5 inches across. Because it has to fit on the gauge of a railroad track. We take out a can. We measure the can. I get out my Hewlett-Packard scientific calculator. And in the heat, I estimate that there's 33,000 gallons of pasta sauce sitting in this railroad car.
Boiling.
Now I'm going to stop the story for a second. What do I know at this point? Pretty much nothing. This guy's got a lot of pasta sauce. So I turned him and I said, what are you going to do with it? I don't know. Well, what are you supposed to do with it? I'm supposed to find somebody to buy it and get some cash. Well, how much would you take for it right this minute? Looks at his watch. He goes, it's 5:00. I'll take $5,000. I said, sold. Now, for those of you that are listening, they go, Jim, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard a college student doing. Now, let's add stupidity to the fact that I didn't have the $5,000. I had to go to the bank the next morning and convince them to give it to me. You're going to buy what with our money? To do what? How are you going to get rid of it? Are you nuts? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, Feldman, if you really want it, bring all your camera equipment. We'll lock it in the vault and we'll give you the money. Okay. You really want to do this? Yep. So very happy. Friday, I now own 33,000 gallons of pasta sauce. Phone rings. Mr. Feldman, I'm Tim Schmidt, Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe Railroad, switching manager. You remember me. I'm the guy that had the bolt cutter. Oh, yeah. Hi. Move it. What? Move your railroad car. Move it where? Not my problem. You can't leave it sitting here. He says, what do you do? I said, I'm a law student. You ever done this before? No. He says, you don't mind me saying that this is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard? I said, well, get in line. The bank agrees with you. He says, look, you need a locomotive. You need a caboose. You need an engineer. You need a fireman. You need the easement rights to move it across other people's railroad tracks. The good news for you is today is Friday. I'm taking a few days off next week. I'll be back on Wednesday. Figure out where it's going. Have a nice weekend.
Right.
I've got a bunch of really bright people coming to my house on Saturday. I'm going to buy some beer, some pizza, and I'm going to play the what if game. So after they're relaxed, I said, listen, before we start studying torts or domestic relations or whatever boring subject was, I said, I got a question. And the insurance guy's there. He says, I bet you I know what the question is.
Yeah.
I said, I've got 33,000 gallons of pasta sauce. What should I do with it? Yeah, really, Jim. What do you want to talk about? This is what I want to talk about. Now, I'm telling you this story because it's real and it literally changed my life. Literally. Not the car itself, but the process that I created. So we came up with ideas. Military bases, prisons, universities, food distributors. Okay. Monday morning, I'm on the phone. I call the nearest military base, tell him I've got all this pasta sauce. Are you interested? He says, what's the product expiration? Let me get back to you. Back in the car, back to find that they've already moved my railroad car. I get the box. I find it. Remember, there's no wireless calls at this point. Everything's a landline. I go back home. I get a hold of him. I give him the number. And he goes, okay, it's got about another year. He says, tell you what, I give you $2 a gallon. $2 times 33,000, $66,000. I'm going to make $61,000. You got a deal. He goes, great. What's your GSI number? What? Your GSA number. He says, can't sell to the government if you don't have a government supply number. So I'll mail you the paperwork. You mail it to Washington. Washington will approve it. Send it back to you. You send it to me. We got a deal. I said, I don't think you get this. I got to have this done this week. He says, no number. Can't buy it. University. What's your GSA number? Prison. What's your GSA number? Distributors aren't calling me back.
Oops.
I was focusing on where it was going to. Now let's focus on where it came from. What if I could sell it back to the manufacturer for less than it cost them to make it? So it was American Home Family Products. I get them. I get the product manager. He says, what's the expiration code? I give it to him. Where's it located? Topeka, Kansas. Okay, how much do you have? I got 33,000 gallons. He goes, I'll give you $1.50. Now, I had already talked to them and found out through a little bit of coercion with a young lady on the phone that it cost them $3 a gallon to make. So he was coming up with $1.50 at half. So I countered and I said, $1.65. Now, you and I know that he's not going to turn it down for 15 cents.
Right.
But while you've got your calculator out, multiply 15 cents times 33,000 and see what that shift was for me. So never worry about percentages, worry about the real dollars. So I hear people saying, well, I'm not going to take 5% of $1 million. I want 10% of $100,000. Duh. Think about the difference. It's not the percentage, it's the real dollar. So that's rule number 2 when you're talking about the depth of your information. Always focus on the dollars, not the percentage points.
That's really good, boy.
So $1.65. Do we have a deal? I said almost.
Get it? Yeah.
He said almost. I said almost.
Almost.
He says, what's left? How much for the railroad boxcar? The container is worth money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Most of the time when I tell this story, nobody looks at the container. When you're inside the box car,
right,
everything has to be considered. And don't negate the IP or their client base or anything else to add to it, because sometimes that extra is huge. Well, it turned out at the time a boxcar was about $75,000. We agreed on $35,000. So I sold it to him for $1.65 times 33,000 and $35,000 for the boxcar.
A deal.
I had him wire transfer the money to the bank. I paid the bank Wednesday morning. The bank hadn't even processed the paperwork for my loan, so they didn't even want any interest because it was going to cost them more than what they could charge me. My credibility with them went up 20 times. And at that point, I said, let me look at the process and do it again. So I took $5,000 and I called up to the fella who took me there and I said, here's $5,000 for taking me out there. Why? Because he knew I paid $5,000 for the railroad car. So $5,000 was a magic number. And then I went to the guy from the railroad that had been kind enough to let me sit there, let me borrow his bolt cutter, etc. And I gave him $5,000. And I said, I'm giving you this $5,000 because I think there's other insurance people out here that have lost railroad cars. And I want you to give them my name before anybody else so that I can buy some more boxcars.
That is so cool.
3D thinking is depth, go inside the box. Distance, look at everything that's out there. Who's going to pay for it? How can you scale it? What is the shelf life? What is your competition? What's the gap analysis in what you're doing? So you break that down, and then the last question is, do you have the determination to carry it through? So it's really simple. You go through a problem analysis, followed by a decision analysis, then a potential problem analysis, and then you come up with the potential opportunity analysis. 4 steps. And that's how you evaluate the situation using 3D thinking.
Great story. Brilliant. So you ended up doing that for a while, got a bunch of boxcars, or did you just sort of...
I had 11 more boxcars.
11.
Made a lot of money.
And retired at 20.
No, almost, not quite. The last one blew up in my face.
Oh.
The last one was a box of a product called Skiwees. Skiwees like a one-person scooter snowmobile. So the back of it had a tread like a tractor, and the front had skis or wheels. So they were interchangeable. And it was designed to be sort of an individual recreational vehicle year-round. And I sold them to the Tommy Bartlett Water Show in the Wisconsin Dells and made a lot of money. And about 60 days, maybe. So I get a call. Hello, Mr. Feldman. I'm the attorney for the Tommy Bartlett Water Show. Who's your product liability insurance company? What? Well, you were the last one in the chain of command, so you take on the liability. I said, I know that. I'm a law student, smartass. I understand that. What's the problem? Did you ever drive one? No. Do you know how fast they went? No. So you sold a product without having any first. I said, people do that all the time. What's your question? He says, well, picture this. Somebody rents it, gets on it, and starts driving across the lake. It gets up to about 45, 50 miles an hour, and they need to stop it for some reason. There are no brakes. They are sliding into trees. They're sliding into the dock. Fortunately for you, nobody was killed, but there's a lot of hospital bills for broken legs, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I'll tell you what. The corporation that sold them to you has no money. I have no product liability insurance. But I'll tell you what. In contract law, when it goes south, you reverse everybody back to their positions before it started. I'll do that. You give me back everything, and I'll give you back your money. You want these broken things? I said, what I do with them is none of your business, frankly. I want everything, including the boxcar.
Okay.
I want you to put everything back in the boxcar, no matter what condition it's in. When that's done, you tell me where the boxcar is, I'll refund the money. Now, once again, why would I do that? Most of them are broken. What's going to happen? Go inside the box. What are the components of this unit? Well, it's powered by a Briggs & Stratton engine. The engine wasn't broken. The engine was brand new. I called Briggs & Stratton and I said, if I can sell you these engines for less money than it cost you to build them, are you interested?
Yeah, brilliant. Jeez.
And how much will you give me for the boxcar?
That's great. Oh, man. Jim, I never heard of such a thing. No wonder you are. Yeah, you talk about creative planning. You talk about a lot of different things. One of the things I just wanted to tap on, you talk about depth, distance, and determination to monetize ideas and efforts, right? And then I don't know, I also want to, weave that into your AI concierge, because you're coming through with a whole other conversation that most people have around their AI.
So at this
that's
point,
a lot of questions inside.
Yeah, it's okay. So at this point, AI is ubiquitous. It's in everybody's life, whether you like it or not. And it's like electricity. It's like the internet. It's changing lives. Think about having the smartest person you could ever hire. Comes to you with every college degree. Speaks several languages. A master artist. A musician. A composer. All of these things, except it's never run a business. It's never made a decision. It doesn't check its own work. But on the other hand, it doesn't ask for a coffee break. It doesn't ask for a raise. It takes criticism well. It's there 24/7. You can ask it all kinds of questions that you want, as long as you know how to ask the right questions. So the first thing to do is humanize AI. I use ChatGPT like most people, and I talk to ChatGPT through my assistant, who's sitting right next to me, called Mr. Spock. And I say, Mr. Spock, I have a question. And I type that into ChatGPT. And ChatGPT learns what I want and starts to understand how I think. And as long as I keep talking to it as if it's Mr. Spock, it will respond.
You mean by giving it a name?
No, I talk to it in my language.
Okay. And
I would like for you
mm-hmm.
to look at this internet URL and give me a summary of the things that it offers, and then compare it to what you know about me and give me a gap analysis of what's missing.
Mm.
Boom!
Really? Yeah. Is that the paid version or the free version?
I'm going to answer that the way I answer it to everybody. If it ain't worth $20, then why are you even in business?
Okay.
If you think about how much money OpenAI and everybody else has invested, they're entitled to get some money back. If they don't get some money back, they're going to be out of business. So you pay for your phone, you pay for the cell service, you get ripped off by the cable people. What's $20? It's one Starbucks visit per week for a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Now, ChatGPT is not the only game in town.
Right.
ChatGPT is, in fact, a game in town.
Mm-hmm.
So now what you say to me? Okay, Jim, what tool should I use? And I say to you, what do you want to accomplish? Well, I don't know. Well, that's the line from Alice in Wonderland. If you don't know where you're going, you're sure to get there. So part of it is a laser focus. And you've got to have that laser focus. And if you don't, you're just wandering around. So how do you come up with that laser focus? You talk to your assistant. So I have a new assistant. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. You may want to post this.
Okay.
It's called AI Playground. AI Playground is $19 a month. That's $1 less than ChatGPT. But it gives you 5 versions that work on the same question. 5 of them. And they run simultaneously. And now it's like having 5 Mr. Spocks, or a Mr. Spock and an Einstein and a Jules Verne or a Edgar Allan Poe or whoever you want. But at the end of the day, you're getting so much for so little. It gives you Claude, which is the Claude 3.5 Sonnet. It gives you GPT-4. It gives you Gemini Advanced. It gives you Perplexity. And it gives you Mistral. All for $13 a month in the annual version and $19 a month, or maybe $20 now for the monthly. I suggest, number one, you try the 7-day free trial. Then if you like it, try the 1 month at whatever it is, 2021. And then if you like it, then pay for the year. Don't jump into the year.
That's fabulous. So inside of there, then you're getting all of them. And then does it guide 5 of them? Okay.
You ask the question and all 5 are doing the search for the answer.
All 5 are doing the search.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's like going to Australia, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United States and says, what's for dinner?
Mm. Right.
You're going to get 5 different answers.
Mm-hmm.
You may like some, you may not like some.
Right.
The advantage to it is that if you're struggling with the prompts and everything else in ChatGPT and the fact they change their model all day long, this gets you around it because it's working on 5 versions simultaneously.
Right. And always, and that was the issue, at least, and I'm nothing on AI, but when I do use it, that wishing that it knew me better than some post.
That's because you haven't set up ChatGPT properly.
Never been trained. I've just
see, and there's the problem with AI. AI doesn't come with an instruction booklet.
Right.
If you go into ChatGPT and you go in the upper right corner, there's an icon of either your face or your initials. Mm-hmm. Roll your mouse over it and a menu drops down. Surprise! in the menu, there's a thing that says customize your
Oh,
settings.
jeez.
And when you open it up, it says, who is Kris? And Kris has 1,500 characters to tell chat who you are. And below that, it says, Kris, how do you want me to talk to you?
Right.
And all of a sudden, it starts talking to Kris a little differently. Now, somebody will say, well, I don't know how to write my 1,500 words. Then go into ChatGPT and say, I'm Kris Miller. Here's my social media. Here's my website. Here's who am I in 1,500 characters or less. And let ChatGPT generate it. And then you just copy, paste it, put it in. And remember, you can change this 100 times a day. So if there's things in there that aren't working or things in there you don't like, just go in and change it.
Right.
But what I just gave you, Kris, 95% of the 300 million people out there have never heard of that, didn't know about it, and didn't know there was a drop-down menu which has other stuff for you to do.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say most of the people I know, 95 million, don't know what you just said. So definitely. Well,
And that's why I formed a thing called the SOAR Academy. And the SOAR Academy offers a couple of different versions of hand-holding. I take small groups. They come to this with an objective, and the objective is to do X, Y, or Z. And then during our time together, we find the right AI tool to help them solve that. So I've now come up with 3 versions of it. One version is we meet 4 times. We meet for 90 minutes for 4 weeks. The second one is that you can hire me one-on-one to really do a deep dive and be very focused and very customized. And then the third one is, Jim, I don't think I can do this 90 minutes, etc., but I'd like to have access to you. So I have an access, which is you can talk to me at 15 minutes at a time, but it has to be with one action item. And you've got to accomplish that action item before you can talk to me again.
boy, that's good. You're working them. That's the teacher there.
Well, I mean, again, they come back and say, well, I need this. Did you do the other stuff? No, I didn't do the other stuff. Well,
right.
If you didn't do the other stuff, then you can't talk to me.
That's fabulous. Tell everybody where they go to get that right now.
So
just tell them.
I put it in the link.
Mhm.
It's relatively simple. It's SOAR,
Okay.
SOAR Academy.live.
Okay. Perfect. We'll get it in the notes too. So a lot of people are saying to me, like, we're marketing or calling or having an event. They've got to have, but nobody really knows anything about the AI thing except people that say they know, but like you said, they haven't said all the little secret how to do it, right? And so,
I think there's a lot of education out there on specific tools.
Right.
But they don't tell you how to use the tool to reach a particular objective. I start with the objective first and then find the tool that's going to do the job. And while ChatGPT is very powerful, it's not the tool that does everything.
It's just like talking to you. You're this genius, but if I don't have the right question, I'm not going to get what I want out of it, right? Out of you. Or
let me give you an easy example. You know I'm a storyteller.
Yes, sir.
The average supermarket has 30,000 items in the store.
Okay.
When you go to the supermarket, are you overwhelmed? No, because you're there with a laser focus. I need some lettuce. I need some milk. I need some eggs. Maybe I need some hamburger. Oh, look. The olives are on sale. Well, I'll pick up a jar of olives. Oh, look what I discovered. Strawberries are on sale. But you walk out of the store with, let's just call it $50, unless you're really doing shopping for the family in the week and, you're buying a lot of stuff. But typically it's $50. When you go to Costco's, there's only 2 things for sure. They have a $1.50 hot dog and they have a $4.99 rotisserie chicken. You may have gone for the hot dog and the chicken, but somehow we end up with $250 worth of stuff in our shopping cart every single time. And we get it home and we go, did I really need 36 mangoes? And often you throw things away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the danger with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a supermarket. You got to treat it like a Costco's.
Mm-hmm.
Costco's only has 4,000 items. But those 4,000 items must perform or they get taken out of Costco's. Supermarket doesn't have that same matrix. The supermarket says, well, Frito-Lay is going to stock the shelves, and Frito-Lay puts up every single flavor that's there. Then the ones that aren't selling, they take off and they put them back, and it's a slotting allowance. So the store's really not managing it or knowing what's going in and out the same way as Costco's, because Costco's ties it back to your membership number and really has a DNA of who you are and what you do.
Right.
Now, I presented an idea to Costco's about 8 years ago that would have revolutionized the way shopping was done at Costco's. Today, it would revolutionize the way shopping is done at Costco's. And I still can't get anybody to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
I even had my suppliers willing to put it into the 2 Costco's here in Chicago, complimentary, to do the testing. And I still couldn't get them to listen. So if anybody from Costco's is listening and you'd like to talk about that again, give me a call.
Yeah, right. Okay, so are there actually AIs that are specific, like say, I want to do an event. You push the button and it does all of that. Or I want to do, you know what I mean? It's not like a generic.
Here's my answer, Kris.
Mm-hmm.
There's an app for that. Whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
there's an app for that. Now, it will not walk your dog. It will not do your dishes.
Darn.
But it will do pretty much everything else.
Yeah. Interesting.
One of my clients called me last week and said, I've been listening to you and watching you, and I really want to create this course, but I'm struggling with, how long have you been struggling? 3 years. What's the topic? Quantum manifestation. What? Quantum manifestation. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Within an hour, 90-page book, complete course, 2 sermons, and 25 blogs. Person said, had I not seen you do this, I would have thought you had gone out and researched it, but I watched you. But that's because I knew what tool would do what to accomplish that goal. Right. And that's why I run these classes so people come in and say, I'm really laser focused on X. Now, sometimes the X won't work. Sometimes there aren't tools out there, but at least I can tell them right away. Mm-hmm. A good friend of mine was trying to do a speaker one sheet, and she wanted to have AI write it for her. There is, to my knowledge so far, no AI tool that will write it and create the speaker one sheet. There are things that will create the speaker one sheet, make them beautiful, as long as you've got the information. So you need more than one tool. That shouldn't come as a surprise to you. When you come home with all the stuff you got from Costco's and you're going to make dinner, don't you need a microwave, a frying pan, water, seasoning, all these other things to make it work? But somehow people have come to the conclusion that if you find AI, you push a button and poof, it's done. And that's not true.
Right.
I've been looking for the one to grow my hair back. I haven't found it.
You and a whole lot of other men. Right. That's the more you talk, the more questions that I get, which is good because you're provoking some really provocative things here because it's so new. And in the box, out of the box, you're free.
You cannot be out of the box. Get that out of your vernacular. 2 things I'd like you to leave with. Stop thinking outside the box. Let's use the metaphor of the box.
Okay. Here's the box.
This is the box.
Box.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're outside the box.
Yeah.
What's in it?
Air.
Well, what will you give me for it?
I don't know. Depends what's in it.
You don't know what's in it because
Right.
you're outside the box.
Right.
I had to open up the boxcar to find out what's inside. I didn't buy a boxcar without knowing what I was buying.
Hmm.
Now let's play the what if game. Kris,
Okay.
what do you give me for the box?
I don't know.
I'm selling it. Selling it
Oh,
right now to everybody that's
okay.
listening.
Well, I got
What do
to
you
get
give?
in the box to know what's in there.
I'm not going to let you in the box.
Oh,
You're outside the box.
I don't want to buy without knowing what's.
Okay.
Okay.
You're not a
Not as.
gambler.
I'm not a gambler.
Would you
No.
give me $5 for it?
I'll give you $5 for it.
Would you give me 10?
Okay.
Would you give me 20?
Okay.
We just went from I'm not interested to I got $20 from Kris.
But
Did you see that?
because you're a really good salesperson. You know how to ask a question. You came from behind me. It's cheating. No, no. No, that's good. But you do. You are a great salesman. And
Okay. Inside the box.
inside the box is a diamond.
$100 coupons.
Woohoo! I won. I made $80 coupon.
No.
Oh,
Look at there's
they're blank.
about 400 of them in there.
Really?
Yeah.
So I won a lot. Okay. What are they coupons for?
But you
Yeah.
did it by luck. You didn't do it because you
Random.
knew any more
No.
when you went from no to
Yeah.
$20.
Right. No, that's good.
If you were inside the box
Yeah.
and these were $100,
Right.
and I said there's 400 left, Kris, would you give me $100 for it?
Sure.
Would you give me 500?
Yeah.
We just went from Kris was never going to give me a nickel to getting $500.
But you told me the details. I'm not good at math either, so whatever.
People buy from people they trust.
Right. That's
The rest of it is rhetoric.
That's it. That's it. Yep.
So when your customer says, it's really $5,000 for that?
Yeah.
You know what my answer is? Amazing, isn't it?
Such a deal, right?
You know what? After today, I'm raising it to 10 because I have now been informed by over 400 people that have taken my courses that I've undercharged. So today is the last day at $5,000.
Uh-oh, the fear of missing out coming at you. Right? Jim, tell everybody again. They're going to go. Do you want them to go to the soaracademy.live? Is that where you want?
In there, they've got all of my links under wrong finger. Let's see. I got to go that way.
There you go. Right.
See the business card.
There you go. Perfect.
That will give them ways to contact me, my LinkedIn, social media, etc. Now notice everything says jfa.tips/something.
Mm-hmm.
So every single time I give away a link, it starts off jfa.tips.
Okay.
In this chat, I gave you a direct link to the SOAR Academy, but if I'm doing it in a live speech or something else, it would be jfa.tips, soaring, or SOAR Academy.
All right.
Because I brand it. You always want to brand yourself and be consistent.
Right. Consistent. And, you know, your 3D thinking is amazing, honestly. Just saying. And inspirational and in the box. So let's cap it off. What's one final
I
thing?
said I want you to remember two things.
Uh-oh.
Stop thinking outside the box.
Okay.
And stop using the word free.
No free.
Free has no value. Complimentary has a value, but we're waiving the fee.
Right.
And that's only temporary.
Right. Like I give complimentary financial fitness strategy sessions.
You give it free, and I'll keep asking for more free. And then when you say, yeah, but I want to charge for it, they go, whoa, 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 you were always doing it for free.
Right.
That's why coaches and healers and entrepreneurs struggle getting from zero to being paid. In our little game here, Kris didn't know this game was coming. She said, no, I'm not going to give you any money. Zero, not going to happen. We ended up getting $500. That ain't a bad afternoon from zero.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, you're like one of those really good poker players that you know the card that's coming. You can probably read my mind because it's only so many patterns that you probably, and you've navigated this your whole life, so you are the expert in this. Obviously, that's why you're here. So.
And that's why companies hire me, because typically they call me when everything else has failed. Everything.
Yeah.
And they go, well, let Mikey try it. And my first question is always the same. How big is this problem you're trying to solve? Put a number to it. Well, we don't have a number. Well, then you don't even know what the problem is. Come back to me when you got a number. Well, Jim, it's a big number. I said, I deal with big numbers. Give me the number. It's $60 million. I thought you said it was a big number. I said, I like numbers that have a B in them.
Yeah.
So I had a client, a Fortune 100 company, had a $60 million problem. They said, we'd like to hire you for a day to brainstorm. So I gave them my day rate. They came, we brainstormed for a day. And the group that was here were all their top salespeople struggling with this problem. And they came away with a number that it wasn't 60 million. It was closer to 90 million. So the guy that was here, the VP, called me back and he says, okay, everybody liked you. Everybody, so we'd like to hire you. I said, what's your budget? He says, I can scrape together $50,000. And I said, in all fairness, you got a $90 million problem.
That doesn't quite.
And you want me to solve it for $50,000? He goes, he says, well, that's all I can get out of the budget. I said, well, good luck with that. He said, you're turning down 50. I said, no, I'm turning down failure. I don't like to fail. It's got a lot less to do with the money and the fact that I don't fail. But you're setting me up for failure because $50,000 spread out over $90 million? What are you applying to fix it? A half a cent?
About. Yeah. Yeah.
So I called him up about a month later and I said, how's it going? He goes, you're just calling to gloat. I said, I'm just calling to see how it's going. He goes, you remember our $90 million problem? I said, yeah. Well, it's almost 200 million now. I said, let me see if I understand this. You told me it was 60. We had a meeting. It went to 90. 30 days later, it's almost 4 times, right? Almost 4 times for where we started. Yeah. He says, but good news. I have a bigger budget. Yeah. He says, I got 100,000.
I can do that math. That's about the same thing. Just
exactly
the same thing. I can figure that out.
Yeah. Now, I don't want you people to think $100,000 doesn't matter to me. Of course it does. But that's not 100,000 in my pocket. If it was 100,000 in my pocket and they paid for all the expenses of the printing, of the incentive, of the rewards, etc., that's a different conversation. So I get the 100 guaranteed, and then we solve the problem. That's a different scenario.
Right.
But he was suggesting he had 100,000 for the project. So it's not 100,000 to me.
Oh, right. Right.
2 things: think inside the box, stop using the word free, and lastly, ask the last question to yourself and to your customers. And I call that the WIIFM. What's in it for me? And if you can't remember that, think of the Wi-Fi symbol, WIFM. Wi-Fi is about connectivity. WIIFM is about interconnectivity. What's in it for your customer? If you cannot articulate that for your customer, it doesn't matter your price. You identify the pain point. They will come up with something that's agreeable to you as the resource to solve the problem. If you don't, then you're a commodity and it all defaults to price.
Good one.
I don't default to price.
Right.
You know, it's like picking up a bottle of very rare wine and saying, how much is it? And the guy says, if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Right. Somehow I knew you'd say that. Right. $20? $50? Right. You're beyond my budget, but you're a blast. Jim, it's been
Thank you.
really fun talking to you. And look, we went through that hour really fast. We go on and on and on. Normally I'm like just 20 minutes, half an hour, but we're just getting started. So we'll just have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Right. It's a lot of fun and you're a blessing and I appreciate you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
As we conclude this enlightening episode of Money 911, remember, the journey to transformation begins with a single thought, a single action, and a single commitment to yourself. Embrace the power of depth, distance, and determination to unlock your true potential and create a future that reflects your dreams. No matter where you are on your journey, know that you have the tools and the support to make shift happen. Until next time, this is Kris Miller encouraging you to stay bold, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Your best life is waiting. Go out and claim it. There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismiller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind.